Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Anna Maria and I'm very happy to see you here. Thanks for opening my video. Today I would like to talk about business management courses and what subjects I actually found very useful and very important to study during a business management course. Because when you just go to that course, most likely you are a very young person and you don't have much experience about life, you haven't tried working much maybe, and you have all those subjects and you don't really understand what subject is worth focusing your attention, time and effort, and what subject isn't really important. Also, very often teachers do not really explain to you how that subject is actually connected to the real life. It can be very dry when teachers tell you about that subjects and try to teach you, so it's not that interesting. You don't get that much interest. You don't really understand how that subject is actually included in the real work life and why do you need it, you know. Very often they just start talking about their subject that they have to teach and that's it. Nothing is happening. You don't really get how you will implement that subject in your work life. It's absolutely unclear. So now, based on my almost 5 years of work experience, I want to tell you what subjects are worth focusing on into a business management course, because I did 4 years of business management and I graduated with a first-class honors degree from business management. But I want to emphasize that I do not consider marks being very important. What I do consider being very important are the skills that you get from that course, okay? So I looked at some business courses and the majority of them would have very similar subjects. They would obviously differ slightly between countries, between universities, but in general they would have very similar subjects. So in year 1 you'll have accounting or financial accounting, and you'll have accounting for like 2 or 3 years, and I find it extremely important to focus your attention onto financial accounting or just simply accounting, because you must read and understand reports. It's very important that you see a report and you understand what it's about. Where are your income sources coming from? What expenses do you have and stuff like this. Also, you need to know accounting, because when you know it, you understand that yes, you can see some profit onto the reports. On the paper you see profit. In real life you might actually have a loss. So it's very important to understand those reports and understand where your money are coming from, when your money are coming from certain sources. Do you actually have some profit or is there some loss? So I find this subject being very important. It's not that easy to study accounting, but I would really focus onto that subject. Even if you don't like it, it's something worth it. Cool, let's move on. From year 1 also I find it very important to do micro and macro economics, and most likely there would be 2 separate courses, yeah, like 2 separate subjects. One would be microeconomics and the other one would be macroeconomics, okay? So it's just for you to have a basic knowledge and understanding of how economics work. I don't think that there will be too much that you have to learn during these subjects, during these courses, but it's very good to understand how economy works, what different instruments are there in the economy, what kind of sources you can read in the future. The next one is learn to learn, or it might be called skills for success in higher education, okay? So most likely in your first year, in your first semester, you will have this course, this subject called learn to learn or skills for success or something like this, okay? So it's very important to also pay attention during these classes. I would not give my total effort into these classes. I would not spend too much time during these classes, but it's nice to listen during these classes because you can understand how to organize your time, how to organize your free time, your work time, your study time, how to get the most out of this course. And I remember when I was doing the learn to learn subject, our teacher asked us to write a few essays about goals that we have, and that was very cool because she basically asked us to write about point B, okay? So we are in point A right now, and she asked us to write about point B and how we will get to point B. And this is a source of motivation because sometimes you can get very tired, very bored of studying and you don't want to do it, but those essays will help you to focus on point B and on you getting to point B, on you getting to your aim, to your goal. So that was a pretty cool course. Yeah, again, I would not focus too much, but I would listen during these classes and I would try to participate, share my own experience, listen what others are doing. The next one is business maths and statistics. And in terms of maths, it's very, very important because we develop our brain, okay? We have to constantly learn something new, solve some problems, issues, maths problems, I mean, and that's something that will develop us. In terms of statistics, it's something very important to know because it will even help you in your real life, okay? Very often, even now in 2021, 2020, we have been reading loads of articles and we've heard a lot about statistics. People tell you about COVID statistics. There is statistics of how many people die, statistics of how many people get COVID, for example. And then you understand that actually statistics is not something that 100% tells you about what's happening. There is error in statistics. You need to understand what population means in statistics, and this will help you to understand what actually statistics mean, okay? So it does not mean that you have to 100% trust statistics. You have to understand how it works and how people make those statistics. So it's something that will help you in your real life, in your life outside work also. It's something that will help you in your work life because based on statistics you will be able to make certain decisions, but it's very important to know where people took those statistics from. This is why I would really focus on learning it. It's not the easiest subject, but I find it something very important, something that really develops our brain as well. And the last thing that I would focus in year one is business information systems, databases for business, okay? So in every year you would have some IT classes, okay? So when I say IT, I mean some Excel, Word classes, Access, so everything connected to information technology. It's something that we must pay attention to. Very, very, very important, and I highly emphasize it. If you have a bad teacher, ask them to repeat. Ask your teacher to repeat so you really know how Word works, you know how Excel works, you know how PowerPoint works. Ask for more tips and try to even spend more time learning about it. Very important to learn everything connected to technology. So focus on it every single year in your university. Now, year two, what I would focus in year two, I would say that would be HR management or something connected to human resources, okay? Because when you do HR, it's not something very easy. It's something actually very complicated. You have to learn the law. You have to know what kind of questions you have the right to ask and what kind of questions you don't have the right to ask. Like, you can't ask about age, about nationality, about kids. If a person has children, you cannot ask this. So you need to know all these things. It's very, very important. HR is a very complicated subject, but it would be good to know how to do it, because I know very many people, like managers in some stores, they still have to do HR and hire people, and there is a whole process, and you need to know how this whole process happens. If you have to make someone redundant, like let them go from work, for example, you also have to go through a whole process, because if you do not go through that whole process, then you might have issues with the law. So you might commit some crimes if you do not follow the whole process step by step. So yeah, it's something very, very important to learn and know. The next one that I would suggest to focus on is marketing, sales management. Most likely they will be something similar. So it's very important to know how to read analytics, how to read reports, how to make decisions based on those reports, to understand how to sell your product, and not only your product, but understand how to sell yourself, how to package yourself and how to sell yourself, because we don't only sell a product, but we also sell ourselves as well. So when you listen to marketing, also try to apply those things to your own life. Like, for example, your LinkedIn profile can be your package. Yes, when you get a present, you see first of all the package, and the package has to be very attractive for the person to want to take this present and open it, okay? So it's very important to build this kind of skills of selling yourself and selling a product. But to sell a product, you need to understand how to read some analytics, and this is something very important. And if your teacher is very boring, try to ask them questions. Try to ask them a bit more about the sales process, to give you more realistic examples, not only some kind of examples that they just read in front of you, but something a bit more realistic from their own experience, for example. The next thing that I would focus in year two is business law. So most likely you will learn about contract law. I would say this is a must know, and I remember that when I had contract law, I did not focus enough, and now I understand that that was a big mistake. Knowing the contract law, knowing the business law, how to write contracts, how to read contracts, how to understand them, it's very important because you might need it not only in your work life, but in your personal life as well. It's very good to have such a skill of being able to read the contract, of understanding how a contract is made, and I would highly focus on it. I just remember that I had a very boring teacher, not boring, but he was very monotonous. He had a very specific accent, and everyone used to leave his class. It was really difficult to listen to him, but it's a very, very important subject. And dear teachers, if you watch me, try to develop yourself, try to develop the way you teach your students and be more interesting, because I swear to God, some lecturers are terribly boring. They can tell you some extremely valuable information, but they can bore you to death. Seriously, bore you to death. So please, dear lecturers, if some of you teach, please be mindful that teaching is not just talking about something. It's about your body language, about your tone, about being able to engage your students. So seriously, when I see some teachers who can teach, okay, not only say the information, but can teach, oh my God, I'm extremely inspired by them, okay? So keep in mind, dear teachers, it's not only about talking, it's also about being able to involve your students. Year 3, and what I'd focus in Year 3. There's business psychology and behavior, and I know that, you know probably that I love business psychology. I would focus on it a lot, about people, communication, negotiations, what kind of reasons people have for doing certain things, how to incentivize people to do what you want them to do, okay? How to talk to people in such a way that they actually understand what you want from them. So this is something very important. I would highly focus on this. I would try to learn a lot about emotional intelligence, about being able to interact socially with other people. So I would really focus on this. I find psychology something extremely important, and now it's not about telling someone to do this. Now it's about influencing through your example, leading through your expertise, through your knowledge, and through your leadership. The next thing that I would focus on, and it's a very boring subject, but it's operations management, and this is how you understand how everything operates in a company. You know that there is a chain of things that have to happen for the company to provide a flawless product or a flawless service, and it's very important to know how it happens. I find it really boring. You've probably seen that there are some operations managers in different companies, and this is what they do. They try to sort out all the operations, but I would focus on it. I would try to learn it, because it's very important to understand what kind of operations are there in a company. How does a company have to operate in order to provide you the best product? Because imagine that something is not working well in the operations. Like, for example, a system doesn't communicate, a website does not communicate with a payment system. That's it. You can't get money out of your client. You have to sort that problem. So it's very important to understand how it works, what kind of issues you can face, for example. Now, innovation and creativity. I remember that when I did innovation, we used to read everything from the book. We used to read some articles, and that was so boring. But innovation and creativity can be developed, and I would try to ask questions like, how do I develop my innovations thinking? How do I develop creativity thinking? I try to always think how you can use, what are the alternative ways of using certain things, certain products, certain services, for example. Try to ask more questions so your teacher can see that you are involved, and your teacher can try a bit harder for you, because yeah, everything that's in the book can be very boring, but it's something very important, because creativity is what drives us. In Year 4, I would suggest to focus on business strategy and change. Change is something that happens to us all, very important to be able to lead ourselves through change, and also business strategy. Business strategy can be something very, very boring, honestly. It can be something extremely unclear, but you have to learn a lot of theory. But strategy is not something that you only use in work, but you also use it in your daily life, in your personal life. You have to have a strategy, how you get to your goals, how do you make it happen, how do you organize yourself. So strategy is something that we have to implement even in our personal life. We need to have goals, we need to have a vision, we need to have a mission, we need to have a plan, and strategy is something extremely important. Project management, you can also focus on project management if you would plan to be a project manager. And the last thing is labor law. you must know your rights, okay? There is a whole process of, like, for example, letting you go from work or hiring you, or sorting out some issues, and you must know what's the correct process, because if your employer doesn't behave right and you don't know about your rights, then yeah, that can be a bit of a problem. But if your employer does not behave right and you know about your rights, you can tell your employer that they need to change their behavior, and believe me, they will change it. They will have no choice. Okay, so it's very important to learn the law. It can be very boring. So all that I mentioned can be very boring. It depends on your teacher, on your lecturer. If your lecturer is amazing, they can make it interesting. So yeah, these are the subjects that I would suggest focusing on when you do a business management course. And you might tell me that, oh, Anna, you just told me all the subjects from business management course. These are not all the subjects, but are the subjects that I find really important. So yeah, also try to always meet some new professionals, go to all those meetings, go and visit companies. Like, for example, in TU Dublin, there was a visit organized to Nestle. Use university as a place to develop yourself, to interact with others, to learn how to communicate with people, to develop your leadership skills. Always put yourself first. Try to do things. Don't worry, nothing is going to happen to you. This is just university or just learning. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Cool. Thanks guys for watching this video. I hope it's not too boring, but I just wanted to explain to you why you need these certain courses. I wanted to tell you that if you study them, they will actually bring you some return on your investment. They will actually give you some kind of benefit if you study them, okay? So yeah, if you guys agree with me, don't agree with me, have a different opinion, or would like to suggest something else, text me in the comments. I'd be very interested to read your comments. Please keep in mind about my Patreon community. So if you want to join a community of like-minded people, this is what I want to create. I want to create a community where smart, intelligent, interesting people can join together, can ask different questions, can help each other, can motivate each other. So make sure you check my Patreon. The link will be in the description. Also, if you have any questions about Ireland, please make sure you get my e-guide. To get my e-guide, just text me on Instagram or LinkedIn and I will tell you how to get it, and check all the links in the description to this video. Thanks a lot for watching it. I'm waiting for your comments and I will see you in my next video.